Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Home Affairs, Senator Watt. At Senate estimates earlier this month, the Department of Home Affairs confirmed that between 7 October and 31 December, the department granted 2,127 visitor visas and an additional 148 migration and temporary visas to people with Palestinian identity documents. An ABC report on the 9th of December last year said that some visas were being processed in less than an hour. Can the minister confirm that adequate security checks were conducted on all of the individuals from Gaza granted visas?
Minister Watt.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Patterson. The short answer to Senator Patterson's question is yes. And I note that this is not the first time this question has been raised by members of the opposition, and in fact what they are doing is raising questions about a process that is exactly the same under this government as it was under the former government when Mr Dutton was the Home Affairs Minister. So it seems that a process that was okay for Mr Dutton in terms of how visas were approved for people overseas is now not good enough to be applied by a Labor government, done in exactly the same way as it was by Mr Dutton. The fact is that under this government, just as under the former government, all people applying for visas, no matter where they're from, are required to undergo security checks. This has been the case under all governments. But what we're seeing from the opposition is an attempt to whip up fear about people being granted visas if they are seeking to come here, Palestinian residents to come here under visas in a way that, as I say, the same process that was applied under the former government. All this is showing is that, yet again, the opposition will use conflict overseas, absolutely devastating conflict where we have seen tens of thousands of lives lost. All they will do is whip up fear about that and seek to generate conflict in our community, even over a process that is exactly the same as it was when Mr Dutton was the Home Affairs Minister for himself. Figures that have come from the Department of Home Affairs show that when Mr Dutton was the Home Affairs Minister, he granted more than 500 visas each week to Syrians fleeing the country in 2015, with a total of more than 12,500 visas granted. The former government also approved 5,000 temporary visas for Afghans in just over 1 month in 2021. The same security agencies performed the same security checks on those visa holders as the checks that have been performed for just 2,273 Palestinian granted visas over 17 weeks.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Patterson, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. On the 22nd of February, Sky News reported that one of the individuals granted a visa and already living in Australia expressed support for the horrific terrorist attack perpetrated by Hamas on October 7. How was it that this person was granted a visa if sufficient checks were supposedly conducted, as you have just said?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Watt.
Well, President, it would almost be as if there's a close relationship between the opposition and Sky News, based on the questions that we've had here today. I mean, we know that all of you beat the door down in order to beat each other into the Sky News studio 10 times a day. And it would hello all of my friends in Sky News. You're obviously now drafting questions for the opposition. A bit of a promotional campaign for Sky News from Senator Patterson and his colleagues.
Order.
But again, the point is that the process that is being used to grant Palestinian visas is exactly the same process that was used when Mr Dutton was the Home Affairs Minister and when he approved visas coming from other conflict zones around the world, places like Syria, places like Afghanistan. And I think not only is it clear that the opposition will do whatever it takes to whip up fear in the community, but they will also go on the attack against our national security agencies, because we rely on the advice of national security agencies in making visa decisions, and that's not good enough for the shadow Home Affairs Minister.
Thank you, Minister Watt. Senator Patterson, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. What assurances can the minister provide Australians that no more Hamas supporters have been or will be led into Australia on your watch?
Minister Watt.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Patterson. The assurance I can give all Australians is that the Albanese government relies on the advice of our national security agencies in making decisions like this, in making decisions about visas that are granted, in respecting our national security agencies and the advice that they provide, rather than trying to play politics with national security matters, which is something that, let's face it, Mr Dutton has done his entire political career. He only has one trick, and that is to whip up fear based on national security matters, whether they're right or whether they're wrong. He thinks nothing of using our national security agencies and their personnel as political pawns in his game. We, on the other hand, actually respect our national security agencies. We have confidence in them to make the right decisions and provide the right advice, rather than coming into the chamber before running into the Sky News studio, which you'll all be racing to do straight after question time's over. That's what the priority for the opposition is, rather than actually treating national security agents seriously. And for a man who says that he treats national security seriously, I'm surprised by Senator Patterson.